Hello again. Welcome, my friends. Another video of preprocessors or directives that we will use to manage our code. So this is, I believe, is the third video. Spin this down. Okay, so this is what we did the last time when we talked about the hardware revisions and all these things to arrange our code, that we make it compatible with the old revisions or all hardware revision, what we call back compatible. Okay, so this is our code. Let's compile it. Should be okay because we don't define anything. It's all preprocessors here. Okay, so we have the hardware revisions and we have 3 different revisions that we are working on. Okay, so I declare here that we have 2 motors. These 2 motors, they are on different IOs depending on the hardware we are working on. Okay, so now let's say what we want to do. Okay, let's define a temperature, what we call a temperature value that we assume we are working on. Okay, for example, let's say here we have a temperature, let's say we have a temperature sensor on this hardware. Well, let's edit hash define temperature sensor on pin, let's say 0, this one, temperature sensor 1, okay? And here also we have temperature sensor 1, but this one will be on different pin. And here also on different, let's say here we put back on the same pin on temperature, let's say sensor 1, sorry, on A0. So now we will define from the latest revision of our hardware, we have another temperature sensor. Let's say we have sensor or temperature sensor 2, which is on pin A2, whatever, just for testing here. Okay, so we have another temperature sensor on pin A2. Okay, so how much we can do? So we have 2 sensors. Okay, so since we have 2 sensors, so if you see here, a common thing on our systems, you should have only 1 sensor at least, but only the latest revision we have 2 sensors. So let's say we have float temperature reading from sensor 1 to 0. Okay, so we initiate this one, which is we'll store our readings from our sensor 1, which all the systems will be working on. So from our loop, we will read this sensor. We will read the one, let's say analog read. Okay, we will read from, yes, temperature sensor 1. That depends on which system we are working on. So here we will read from this guy. Here we go. Let's compile it. Should be compiled done. Yes, we didn't do anything because the sensor 1 is included or defined in all the hardwares. Whenever we change this, should be okay. Okay, so now we read the temperature readings. Now let's say in case we have some condition, let's say if temperature from this sensor or sensor 1 is more than, let's say, 100 Celsius, we need to, for example, trigger the vent fan on to do some cooling, whatever. Okay, but now how if I want to include the second sensor? Okay, I want to include the second sensor. How I can do so? So let's add another one. Let's say this guy here. I add another variable or container to take the reading from the sensor number 2. So this is the temperature reading from sensor number 2. Okay. So now, again, from here, I will take the reading of sensor 2. Sorry, that's not this one. Delete. So sensor 2, it should be equal to this guy, exactly same, but instead this one should be sensor 2, isn't it? Because we have sensor 2. Okay. So now we take 2 readings. So if we compile here, I expect an error. Yes. Why? Because this one is not declared sensor 2. You see? Sensor 2, this one and these two, they are not declared in the scope. Why? Because they are under hardware revision 2, but we're activating revision 1. If you guys, you don't understand this or you cannot catch up with me, you need to watch the first video or the previous video that linked to this. Okay. I'll try to link it in the description if I don't forget to do so. Okay, so how to solve this? If you see now, if I activate the second revision, now should be okay. The compiler won't be won't have any objection or could you see it done compiling nicely and peacefully. If I change to 0, now the compiler won't be happy. Say, hey, these variables, they are not defined. Yes. So how can I solve this? Simply, I can add the if condition, but in preprocessor if condition. Say, if hardware, how we wrote the hardware, exactly like this, we copy this one. If the hardware is equal to 2, then take these readings. And if, okay, I will perform this only if these are, only if the hardware is 2. If the hardware is 0 or 1, I don't have any second temperature sensor. So no need to take the readings. Only if it's 2, then okay, we can take the readings. So now if we run, the compiler should be happy again. Okay, here we go. You see now, although we are in 0, so since 0, we don't have temperature sensor 2, so this piece of code won't be run. Okay, so now how if I want to add this inside our condition also? This means I want to do so. I say or temperature sensor 2. So I want either of the sensors, they are more than 100. I want the fan to be triggered, the ventilation fan to be triggered. So now if we run, for sure, the compiler will be object or will not like our code. So how we solve this issue? Okay, we need to add this condition, okay, which is the logic or and the new condition only if we have the temperature sensor. So how we can solve this? Now we come to see which are the thing that or the lines we want to add if we have the sensor 2. We can put it like this. We need the logic and this condition. So I can put this in new line like this, and this bracket is following the main if condition command. So this one should be so I can write it like this, isn't it? If I compile it now, it should also give me the same error. Yes, here we go. It's objecting about this one. Okay, doesn't like it. So now this is the line that I want to control, whether keep it in case of hardware 2 and take it out in case of others. So how to solve this one or how to control this? Again, I will use the directive or the pre-processing technique. Here we go. So this time I will not use the hardware, but I will use the definition itself. So if this guy is defined, if the temperature sensor is defined, which is defined only in hardware 2, if this defined, then end this, and we can forget to close it hash and if. If this sensor defined, you add the logic or on the condition. There we go. Okay, cool. So now our code can detect that this temperature sensor is not defined because it's only defined here. Okay, so here not defined, here not defined, it's only defined here. So since we are activating 0, revision 0, so it's not defined here. So since it's not defined here, so this condition or pre-processing condition will be false or 0, so it won't add this line. Okay, and now if we change to 2 and compile again our code will be run and compile completely because we already defined that temperature sensor 2. Okay, cool. So here we see how to add our pre-processing even inside the if condition itself. Okay. So now, how if I have an equation? Okay, let's say, let me add some variables here. Let's say I have what I have another float of room temperature equal to 0, and also float I want delta temperature also equal to 0. Okay, I have these two variables, so I'll take this one delta. So let's say I have equation here to calculate the delta of these readings. Let's say delta equal to room temperature, okay, plus here, if you notice here, where? So I will take the readings. Since we have sensor 1 and sensor 2, okay. So let me take the delta first. So this one plus, again, sensor 1, room temperature, plus I will take the reading from sensor 1, plus I have sensor 2. Okay, but now let's see if our code will be happy or not with this equation. I believe it's do happy because we already activate 2. If we activate number 1, let's say, for example, the compiler won't be happy. I believe, yes, here we go. He will say, yes, sensor 2 was not declared, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so there's the objection of sensor number 2 was not declared. So how to solve this issue? Again, we want our code to be backward compatible. So we need to be compatible with our old versions, not like we need to change the code or we have many versions that we need to maintain. One code be compatible for all the hardware. So again, we need to highlight the lines that we want to control them, which is this. Okay, starting from the summation here and to here, because this one is a fixed one, whether it's version 0, 1, or 2, it should have this semicolon to end the comment, and we need this 2 in addition only for revision number 2 because we have sensor 2. So again, we can borrow this thing. If hardware equal to 2, so it means we have this one, need to add it. If hardware equal to 2, it means we have sensor number 2. So now if we compile, our compiler should be yay, happy, cool. So now, by the way, we can do the other way. Not only if the hardware, we can use the if also work correctly, because either way or either one, it's representing the same. If we say if hardware equal to 2, is mean we're referring to this hardware revision. If we say if define or this sensor to define, we again representing that this one defined inside this hardware, so both are same. Okay, so I can do this one also. I should expect the same results. Okay, so again, if this guy temperature sensor 2 is not defined, so my delta will be only room plus sensor 1, only 2 readings. Okay, let's say here room readings is here 22. Anyway, we are not doing anyway, so this just for example. Okay, so if no, I have this sensor 2 has been already been defined. That's mean I already expect there is a data here, so I need to add it on. So I have reading 1, reading 2, reading 3. I add it on. Next, after I add all these guys, I need to divide by the number of the readings. Remember how to calculate the delta? Delta value equal to the sum of data divided by the number of data. Okay. So sum of how many data we have, we need to sum them here, then we divide by the number of them. So after we finish here with sum, let's say, okay, so this is maybe kind of misleading. I'm sorry. So we take this guy here. No. So this one will be float sum, or we say total temperature. Then here, let's compile and see if everything okay. For sure, okay, we just change one variable. So I will have delta temperature equal to total sum divided by 2 or 3. Another issue here inside our equation. Okay. By default, I will divide by 2. Okay, because I expect the first 2 revisions, they have only 2 sensors. I mean, 1 sensor, because 1 sensor plus the room temperature, so I expect them only 2 readings, so that's why I divide by 2. However, if I have, or my code is directed to be work on the last revision, or revision 2, I should divide by 3, because now I have 3 readings. So how to do this issue, how to manage this issue? Okay, so this is, since this is the number, or this is my target that needs to be changed, so I need to put it in a new line. This is the first thing I can do. Then I will use in the directive if, okay, if temperature sensor 2 is defined, if the temperature sensor 2 is defined, then this one should be what? Should be divided by 3. If else, so I can do else only, no need if. Else divided by 2, and if, there we go. Okay, so now our delta will be divided this, the total, which is come from here, which is, again, this total will be according to the definition of sensor 2, whether it will be added or not. So here also, it will check if this guy is defined, is meaning we have how many sensors? We have 3 sensors. If not defined, meaning we have only 2, then we come to the else. If not, it's come to here. Okay? Or we can do another way. We can say, if not defined, if this is not defined, we put number 2 here, else divide by 3. Either way is correct. it's up to you how you like to put the logic of your code. Okay guys, so I don't want to make the video too long for you guys. Just want to add on this to you, that how to add our directive, the code directives or the pre-processing inside our conditions and also our equations. So as we can see here, if we slowly go to here, so we learn how to take the readings, okay, according to the hardware we have. Okay, if within our hardware revisions we have new variable, new sensors or new things to be acquired, then we can control them by using this way. And also inside our condition, you see here we have if condition. Okay, you see how we managed to control the line that we want to add or remove. Okay, so here is the default one, the sensor one. That's all the other hardware they already have, so we expect it to be there, but only this is the new one that we add on. Okay, and this one, it's following this sensor, so we need to use this. So we need to use this the code directive or the pre-processing technique to control this line. And also we learn how to do this inside our equation. For example, here we need to add on 2 or more. It depends on the, again, the definition of our hardware or definition of our variable. Okay, same goes to the equation here, where we define, where we divided our total readings according to the number of the sensors. If we have the sensor, we divide by 3. If we don't have the sensor or not defined, then we divide by 3. Okay, so here we have reached to the end of this part of the video. I hope you have learned how to make your code more professional and more readable. Okay, and yeah, I hope you have learned something new. So happy learning and see you soon.